In a recent episode about checkering a Winchester Model 71 4-end, there was a comment that I received that when I showed the fence on my checkering tool, it was out of the camera's angle. So here's the fence right here. This is the part that moves up and down. And there's a stop here that sets how deep that fence can go, you see, right there. And then on the bottom of this, there is an adjustment in and out which turns through this barrel, that screw, and moves the fence in and out. I don't want to move it right now because I got it set to do the diamonds on the back end of that Winchester Model 71. But this is that power tool, and it has a small AC outrunner motor on the back end of it. So it's very handy, very, very small, very easy to move around. This is not an inexpensive tool, and you don't have to have this tool in order to checker, but God, does it make life simple. I have an Almond Precision 50 thousandths wide 75-degree cutter on it, and it's what I use for a majority of my cutting. It's just how I do what I do. In the stand, I have labeled a 75. This is a 75-degree cutter. 75s are great for getting down in the bottoms of the grooves, whereas a 90, and let's compare the angles on the two tools here. And you can see that this is the 90 and this is the 75. This one reaches into the bottoms of the holes, and this one here is for doing the tops of the diamonds. The back end of my tools are all shaped differently. This one has a cut that I can feel. This one is smooth, and we have these cutaways on them. Ordinarily, when you see cutaways on the bottom of tools like this, it's to keep them from rolling off the bench. But for me, it lets me get in a little bit lower. In addition to that 90, I've got a fine 90 right here. This fine has the two bands up here so I can feel it. And this is an old Denbart head right here. It's a Denbart head and 90 degrees, but it cuts a lot smoother line. These Denbart heads are awesome, but in the woods that I work that have a lot of silicon in them, they get dull in a hurry because this is not carbide. Those other two tools are carbide. Then I've got a 90-degree pull cutter, and this one cuts on the pull stroke backwards. So you can sneak up into a corner and pull away without having that risk of an overrun. It gives you a lot of control. It's also great for going around corners when you're cutting the corners on a pattern. It's really good for being able to follow that. In the back here, I have a chasing chisel, and this is cut out of an old 3-corner file. But this is really, really good for just detail work, nipping away at corners, touching up diamonds. The thing you got to watch about an actual edge tool is that it tends to wedge, and you got to be careful you don't pop the diamonds off across the grain. I keep a bespoke screwdriver in here, and this bespoke screwdriver, then I don't have to go hunting it. Now, yeah, of course, the one I pulled out happens to have hex heads on it, but some of these don't. Here, this tool right here has. So these two screws here, if you back off and advance, the tool would rotate this way. You see what I mean? If you advance the top and back off the bottom, the tool would rotate that way, and it allows you to set your angle of attack. But rather than having to go find this thing every time I need it, I just have one up here in the stand. This is a bordering tool, a narrow border, and it looks like a spacer, but it's not. It has here, let me see if I can get this in a place here where you can see it. That's like a round cut. You see right there? That's round. And what that does is gives you, here's the last diamond, and then you get a round cut that lets you cut off all your overruns. There are a lot of guys that write a lot of books about checkering, and they're right. Borderless checkering is the best. However, it's also, if you're only getting paid $400 or $500 to do a pattern, not $4,000 or $5,000 to do a pattern, you need to get on about it. Okay. This is a brush. They market it as a brush for taking the silk off of corn on the cob or a nail brush or whatever. This is really great for brushing down with and against the grain and getting all the sawdust out. And then we have a white china marker. You don't like to lay out when you checker. You don't want to lay out with a regular pencil, because regular pencils, even these greasy number twos, will dent the wood. So you want to write on it with a china marker, and also the china marker will come off with a little bit of water, whereas you don't have to try to erase it. And then last but not least, on the back end of this block is a file card, which is good for getting anything that's pinning your edges. It's good for cleaning out your bordering tool. Just don't touch the stock with it and you'll be all right. This particular stand used to be screwed to my bench, and then once I moved Sheldon in here, I found myself in his way. So I screwed this 8-pound block of lead to the back end of it, and I can just pick this whole thing up and bring it to wherever I happen to be working. Another piece of checkering kit is this, a movable light. And if you watch this file card, you can see how dramatically changes in lighting affect how your eyes see things, right? So when I'm checkering, I'd have the light right about there, and it really brings contrast to something and means your eyes don't have to fight so much. And then I would also probably shut the overheads off in this case right there. You see all that glare? All that glare is coming in from the overhead lights. We would kill the lights. There you go. Now, that means that the rest of this glare is caused by this lamp, except that the workpiece would be down here and we would have the light. See, look what that does. Anyway, that's a quick drive through my on-bench checkering equipment and what I use and how I did it. And I hope this gave everybody a little better look at what's going on. As always, guys, it's been a pleasure.